This particular moment, the focus is very much on the families of the victims, some of whom include young children. The loss of 4 police officers is a lot to take in for everyone concerned. But it's hardest of all for those who were closest to the men who died. One of the families involved has had the great misfortune to have to deal with sudden tragedy before. Another of the victims was looking forward to the birth of a child. Today, none of the families wanted to speak directly to the media. BBC Newsline's Julian O'Neill has this report.
In a town that knows tragedy only too well, today the RNLI flag in Kilkeel flew at half-mast as a mark of respect. 2 of the 4 policemen lived here, Kenneth Irvine and Declan Green. The Greens have suffered before. 3 generations of the family were lost in the Tullochmurray Lass fishing disaster 6 years ago.
Very, very hard to cope. I mean, they're devastated. This has happened again. A real numbness. This has happened again to this particular family. And of course, as I say, the other families. It's tragic and it's so sad to see people in mourning just before Christmas. I mean, policemen doing their job to keep you and I safe.
Another of the crash victims, Kevin Gorman, was a Gaelic and soccer player. Just hours before he died, he was scoring for his local club in Drummond. Kevin Gorman and his brother both played football for this club, and in a tribute posted on its website, Drummond Mills FC said Mr. Gorman would be sadly missed by all who knew him. Family friends said Mr. Gorman was well known for his sporting background, and both he and his wider family circle were well respected.
You think now in peace times it would be a less dangerous line of work, and yet we've lost 4 police officers in one night. It's just unbelievable. I think they just can't believe it at the minute. It's not real, you know, so it's very difficult to say how, well, you can understand yourself how you would feel.
The 4th victim of this crash was James McGee, who, like his fellow officers, was from the wider Mourne area. Julian O'Neill, BBC Newsline. I'm joined now at the scene here of the crash by 2 MLAs for the area, Jim Wells and PJ Bradley. Jim Wells, something that's been spoken about since this tragedy happened in the early hours of yesterday morning has been the great community support that's been expressed to families. Just to tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as I said yesterday, there's hardly a family in Mourne who won't know one of the victims of this terrible tragedy. They represented the entire community and were very active in it. And there's a sense of loss, a tragic, dark shadow is coming over the entire community at the moment.
PJ, this crosses both traditions, nationalist and unionist. In some respects, it's unusual because of that it's bringing the people together, isn't it?
Yes, it's sad really that the men that died together have now united the community more than ever, and let's hope that maybe that they didn't die in vain because of that, because it's very, very difficult to picture the families and what they're going through. So at least if the wider community can come more together, it will encourage the family and that's the level of support that the families will hopefully appreciate.
And do you think, Jim Wells, that the fact that they had 4 men, 2 from one tradition, 2 from another, working together in a unified police force, is that going to knock that back somewhat, or will it be a strengthening episode, this?
No, I'm absolutely certain the entire Mourne community will rally together to support all the families, and there's many young men joining the police in this area, and that great team spirit that we've seen in this area amongst the PSNI will continue.
PJ, would you concur with that?
I would, and I didn't even detect much in the last few days that people weren't saying they were Catholic or they were Protestant. They were just young policemen out helping the community, and that's what they're appreciated for.
Thank you, PJ, and thank you, Jim. Well, it'll take this community some time to come to terms with this, and it may be that obviously some people will never get over it. From a very solemn Warren Point, back to the studio.
Marvin Jess reporting. Well, as we said earlier, the police officers were not the only people to die on our roads over the weekend.
A pedestrian and 2 motorists were killed in crashes in counties Armagh, Antrim and Londonderry. Conor Macaulay reports.
Friday saw 3 fatal accidents across Northern Ireland in less than 4 hours. Here on the Ballykelly Road near Limavady, a man was killed in a 2-car collision around 10:30 on Friday night. The driver of the other car was taken to hospital. The family of the deceased has asked that his name isn't released publicly. And in County Antrim, investigators spent time over the weekend marking out the area where a pedestrian was knocked down and killed by a car on the Connor Road near the village of Parkgate. That accident happened around 6:45 on Friday evening. The man arrested by police has been released pending further inquiries. And in South Armagh, on the Forkhill Road near the village of Mike, 45-year-old Theresa McGovern was killed in a 3-car collision around 9:15. Her funeral took place today.
Very often we tend to overlook the human factor. Let's not forget this weekend there are 7 families who are bereaved. They're mourning the loss of a loved one, and especially in this run up to Christmas there. And Christmas is time for families to be together there, and there's 7 families who won't have an important member of that family.
The weekend deaths bring to 98 the number of people killed on the roads